Welcome to the final installment of Eating Smart for Your Heart. In part 6, we'll go over nutrition and your lifestyle and how it can become a sustainable thing for you. We'll also review health behavior considerations as well as mindful eating. To begin, let's consider why we eat. Eating habits are impacted by more than hunger, and we might eat because of stress or anxiety, or we might skip meals because of stress or anxiety. We might eat because we're bored, we have a party or an event, just proximity, being close to food, because others are choosing to eat, or another social reason that we might choose to eat, or we might be just craving a flavor. So, looking beyond just hunger and that primal reason to eat, there are many emotional and psychological reasons that we choose to eat food. And good intentions do not always guarantee success for executing a healthy diet. 49% of American adults attempt to lose weight every single year. 80% of us are trying to eat healthy or eat better. And 40% of dieters abandon their regimen within 7 days, and 80% quit within a month. Why does this happen? When you consider where people say, oh, I fell off the wagon again, what are the reasons behind this, and how can we break and interrupt that cycle for a positive and sustainable approach to healthy eating? When we think about success, we have a lot that's undermining, how our results play out. There's a lot of conflicting information and confusion in the nutrition and media world. 80% of adults report hearing conflicting information about nutrition and what we should or should not be eating. And just about 60% say that these conflict and this kind of, you know, uncertainty about nutrition prompts doubt about their food choices. We also tend to apply too many rules, and it can be rigid and overwhelming. This kind of leans to fad diets and this learned set of rules that we might have been taught when we were younger. One of those might have been the Clean Plate Club. I always remember, I couldn't leave the table until I finished those green beans. The green beans were a punishment, right? And then some of these fad diets use rules to kind of pigeonhole, the system, but it really is way too rigid and it's really difficult to follow. And there's not, a perfect way to eat. So we can always make healthy eating our own and hopefully apply much more flexibility and a graceful approach to nutrition. When we look at behavior change, we can consider these ABCs. A is the antecedent or the stimulus or trigger. What is something that is physical, social, psychological, or kind of visual that is prompting a certain behavior? This might be something like seeing a candy jar or feeling that hunger. It might be a party or a potluck. It might be winding down with TV at the end of the night that kind of makes you think, oh, I want a snack because you're used to having snacks at that time. It might be, psychological where you're not feeling or you are feeling motivation. You are engaging in a certain type of self-talk. And it can also be visual. It might be a cluttered table, or it might be, a certain kind of eating environment. So when we look at behaviors, we have a stimulus or a trigger that prompts a response, and this is the behavior. So it might be the actual act of eating, whether it's how fast or how much we are eating. It might be that emotional response or the should and shouldn't, the shaming that people sometimes feel when it comes to food. And we might be kind of looking at a different type of awareness or acknowledgement of our food and our meals. And then after our behavior is the consequence. The consequence is the punishment or reward that follows that behavior. Now, I think the tough thing about nutrition is that the consequence sometimes comes way down the road as a cumulative effect of many, many behaviors. So it's not always a direct cause and effect. One meal choice isn't going to always create a consequence, but building up over time, it will. So think about the positive or negative consequences that you would like to foster or avoid. With the positive one, we might see a better relationship with food. We might see healthier weight maintenance. In the negative, we might start to engage in some disordered eating, or we might see an increased lipid profile or cholesterol value, or we might have poor health outcomes like inflammation. So when we look at these ABCs, there are ways that we can adjust, especially in that stimulus or trigger section of the A, that can kind of be a trickle effect for actually changing our behaviors in the long run. When we want to shift these lifestyle habits, we want to consider how your environment is supporting the healthy habits that you want to ingrain. You can engage in choice architecture, and this is kind of a fun term. When we think of an architect, it's somebody who designs spaces. So I want you to think about how you can be your own choice architecture. This can help you avoid or alter a cue or trigger so that you can change your behavior and impact your consequence. So to gain that positive outcome, we're going to be talking about how we can identify triggers, substitute behaviors, so we can get those positive outcomes. So we can look at cue management, and this is all about, with this choice architecture concept, it's about designing and constructing your life, your space, your relationships, your desk, your car, your kitchen, to make the healthy choice the easy choice. We want to design these cues to prompt that desired behavior or to suppress a detrimental one. So we want to identify the cues that might stimulate a response. This might be something like going to a movie. Then we can look at how do we alter that cue or change that stimulus. We might buy tickets in advance so that we're not standing there in line right near that huge snack counter for 10 minutes before the movie. We can have our tickets in hand, walk right up, and walk right in. And then we can plan to alter the cue. We can discuss it with family, purchase a smaller container to share, just so we stay intentional. This isn't to say never have popcorn. It's to say let's stay intentional and set a goal and a plan, and then have the wherewithal to follow through with it. We can also look at our environmental cue examples. So these are ways that you can kind of change the stimulus in your own environment. So in your kitchen, you could bring all your produce to eye level. So look at your refrigerator. Is it easy to see the vegetables that you bought? In your pantry, is it easy to see your higher fiber items like nuts, seeds, beans, and whole grains? Bring those up to eye level. And then if you do have some less nutrient dense snacks, keep those at the bottom in a small amount, maybe in an opaque container. And it's not to say we're hiding them, but we're putting the prompts for the foods that we want to eat on a more regular basis in the more visual, in our visual path. So another, cue that we can set ourselves up with is in the social environment. If you are going to a party or a potluck, bring your own healthy dish. It's still okay to try different foods and, kind of go for what looks good, but knowing that you're bringing something that you enjoy, that is colorful and high fiber, that's giving you, some fuel that you'll have at that party. And then we can also look at cues for our eating behavior, like putting the fork down every 2 to 3 bites and really slowing down our eating process. So when we think about cue management, think through what prompts you to eat more or less, to eat specific foods, and think about how you can manage them, and have a strategy to amplify the healthier choices and kind of downplay those less healthy choices. When we're creating positive food environments, planning is key. In our home, we can plan meals, create those shopping lists, keep healthy options in our pantry, our fridge, and our freezer. We can portion foods ahead of time for convenience, and we can make those healthy foods visible. Keep water cold in a pitcher and clear a space so you can have somewhere to eat slowly and quietly and truly enjoy your food. At work or out of the home, you might keep fresh fruit or nuts and seeds out for a snack. You might stash your water bottles and make sure you pre-fill it before you arrive somewhere. You can also bring your own lunch and snacks so that you are ready to kind of stay fueled throughout the whole day. You can enjoy balanced celebrations, so it's not just all high sugar items. We can bring a fun appetizer, enjoy some music, do a team building game. And then you can also look for healthy vending options or have a plan so that you can eliminate your reliance on vending machines and to-go items. So, as we think through what our environment is doing for our healthy behaviors and our goals and our success, we can kind of think through how do we strengthen these healthy behaviors. It's kind of easy to bite the bullet and do something for a week. But when we're talking about health outcomes and heart healthy results, these are habits that we want to repeat month after month after month. And strengthening your healthy behaviors and the systems that support them can help you be successful in the long run. So make sure you assess your self talk. Dial in to see if it's positive. Are you saying things like, I'm doing great? Or, wow, I really chose a great balanced snack this time. Or, hey, I got up and I had breakfast within an hour of waking and I made it myself at home. You can also kind of do positive self talk when things are in process. I can make this work. I'm taking small steps. Planning helps my success. It doesn't have to always be a cut and dry, I'm doing this right and I'm doing this wrong. Really celebrate your small wins and think through, how you can build yourself up so that you stay confident and engaged. Setting small goals will definitely help you, with your overall progress over time. A goal should be small and measurable. So it doesn't really, help us or serve us to say, oh, I want to get healthier or I should be eating better, right? Think about a small goal. An example might be I'm aiming to plan 2 meatless meals each week, or I'm aiming to use 3 different colors of vegetables in this week's meal plan. Those are very measurable. You can tell, did I plan 2 meatless meals? Did I include 3 colors of vegetables? And then set your action items to achieve them. Get out your meal planning sheet and your grocery list template. What plant-based proteins are you going to use for your meatless meals? Maybe it's lentils and edamame. That's an action item. Put plant-based proteins on the grocery list. An action item for your colored vegetable goal. Look up 2 different recipes that include those colorful vegetables. We also want them to be realistic. Maybe one of the plant-based meals is something that you get at your grocery deli that you add beans and nuts to it. Or maybe the vegetables that you're trying to add that are different colors, maybe one of those vegetables is frozen. Be realistic about how much time you're spending on this goal. And then think about short term versus long term. For short term, we want to look no further than 1 to 3 months. Long term goals, we're looking more like 6 to 12 months. They're going to be very different, and it's important not to only focus on long term goals because that can be very overwhelming. Our short term goals are much more action based. The changes are happening now. It's fun to explore these healthier foods that are nutrient dense, maybe in combination with a new spice, or trying to recreate a favorite restaurant meal at home that you switch it and do many more vegetables than what they would normally serve it with. There's ways to have fun and reach short-term goals so that they can move us toward our long-term health vision. As you strengthen your behaviors, try to change how you phrase things. So instead of saying I can't, try saying if I do this, then I can do that. So instead of only focusing on the barrier, try to problem solve and create that solution. Instead of saying I should or I shouldn't, you can say I could. This switches it so that it's more action based and what you are able to do rather than a shame based or what you might feel guilty or obligated to do. We, can consider ourselves lucky to be here and meal planning to fuel our bodies the best way that we can. We also, instead of saying, oh, I have to do this, we can try saying, I'm willing to. What are you willing to do? Whether it's time, budget, learning new skills, that planning system, what are you willing to do to make these action steps happen to achieve your goal? And then instead of focusing on, I failed at X, Y, or Z, you can say, well, next time I'm going to try this because I saw how it played out and I have a better idea now. So we want to frame things in a positive light, keep things intentional, and keep ourselves motivated, however that works for you. As we strengthen our behaviors, we can also build in rewards. These provide positive consequences. So if we remember those A, B, C's of behavior change, you work on adjusting the cue or stimulus for that new behavior that will create a different outcome. Set up a reward for yourself when you get that outcome because it's more effective than negative consequences or punishment. We want to work towards something and build ourselves up. When we receive rewards from feeling good, from accomplishing things, substituting, a less healthy behavior for a more healthy behavior, there are many, areas in our healthy lifestyle and healthy habits where we could reward our choices. So some ideas for rewards are items or things like a new fun water bottle, a canvas grocery bag, a kitchen tool, new walking shoes, or it could be experiences like a cooking class, movie tickets, or allow yourself to plan a walk with a friend. Try to avoid rewarding with food items or cheat meals, or dessert, because that really continues the thought that those meals need to be elevated or placed on a pedestal or restricted. We still want to allow these foods, but reflect on how we feel after we eat them physically and how we feel when we eat a more nutrient dense diet. So as you focus on countering your less healthy habits, you can look at replacement. Replacing our detrimental behaviors with healthy responses can fill that void that we often feel when we are making behavior change. If we stop doing one thing, what do we replace it with? That's why it's so important to focus on the yes side of your goals. It's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to reduce my portions. Well, what's on your plate then, right? So we want a goal to counter that. I'm going to back to the 3 colors of vegetables each week. That's a goal that will fill that void. So use countering to increase those healthy behaviors and root your healthy habits. Some ways to do this are to engage in active and enjoyable diversions. It might be brew a cup of tea. It might be journal or stretch. It might be sit down with your meal plan, or it might be light a candle and practice some meditated, breathing. You can also engage in healthy cooking and meal planning. You can, do physical activity or movement to take the place of some of that time. Maybe your goal is to watch less TV so that you have less sedentary time. Planning a movement, setting the time up with a friend to counter that less healthy habit is going to help you root that healthy choice. We can also engage in relaxation and mindfulness during this time as well. So lastly, let's finish up and talk about mindful eating for habit changes. The benefits of mindful eating is that we can build a better relationship with food. Research shows that we can see better weight management, improved digestion, and better stress management. Some tips for mindful eating is to focus on your food. Avoid distractions. That might mean prioritizing keeping your table cleared off. Light a candle while you eat so that you can kind of settle your system and really focus on what's in front of you. It might mean turning down noise, definitely turning off the TV or the screen or setting your phone off to the side. The more distracted we are when we eat, the less aware we are of our hunger cues and how our body is feeling. We always want to mind the first bite and use all of our senses. How does this food feel, taste? How does it, what's the temperature? How does it sound when you're eating it? And really slow down and name all of the things that you're noticing about that meal that you're enjoying. One kind of fun approach is that if your mouth is full, your fork should be empty. So try not to preload that next bite with your fork while you're chewing. Truly set it down. And when we chew better, we have better digestion anyway. So just another reason to slow down and put your fork down between bites. As you're focusing on mindful eating, be open-minded and not judgmental. Get curious and descriptive about things. So rather than saying I should or shouldn't be eating this, or I'm being good or bad, think about, okay, I'm eating this avocado. It's so creamy. It's spicy because of these, flavors that are added to it. And I know it's helping my brain health and my heart. And then at the end of your meal, try to develop a meal finishing ritual, whether you chew gum or brush your teeth, brew some hot tea, do the dishes, or stretch. Having that meal ending ritual can just kind of bring the meal to a close and help you stay mindful and really reflect on your hunger cues and how that food just nourished your body. Wrapping up with some HeartSmart application tips, we can look at how we can take steps to design a healthy environment. We can keep produce visible in the kitchen, so check out your fridge and your pantry and move your produce and your nutrient-dense foods closer to eye level. You can also keep an organized pantry. When was the last time you kind of checked all corners of where you keep your food? Make sure you're using the first in, first out method so that foods rotate through on a pretty regular basis. We can also piggyback new habits to established habits. A great example of this is for dental health, we typically brush our teeth in the morning. So you could attach packing your healthy snacks or preparing your healthy nutrient dense snacks for the day right after you brush your teeth. You can also enjoy habits that are more mindful while you're eating, like choosing a quiet space to dine or reflecting on all five senses each time you eat. Or another great application tip is to record your observations in a very non-judgmental way. Think about how you can write down, what do you notice, what do you feel, what do you observe while you're eating. Whether you write it in a journal or use a mindful eating app, you can kind of really dial into how food makes you feel and help you make those healthier choices. As always, if you have any questions or want to schedule with a dietitian, don't hesitate to reach out 616-885-5000. As you've worked through the 6 sessions of Eating Smart for your heart, we hope that you have kind of established some techniques that are going to stay in your life, that you feel confident about executing in the kitchen and the grocery store to fuel your body with these nutrient dense, heart healthy foods.